Good morning, everyone. Let me start with a simple question. How many of you have ever stayed awake at night? Your mind racing with what ifs and maybes. Raise your hand. Yes, I see many of you. You are not alone. We live in a world where overthinking has become a silent epidemic. We plan, we worry, we analyze, and then sometimes we do nothing. Overthinking is like standing at the edge of a river, staring at the water, imagining every possible scenario, but never taking that first step to cross. And the truth is, life rewards action, not hesitation. The moment you act, the fog clears, the fear diminishes. The possibilities that once seemed impossible suddenly start becoming real. Awareness is the cornerstone of transformation, and it is the first step toward breaking free from the paralyzing grip of overthinking. Most of us spend countless hours lost in the labyrinth of our own minds, running scenarios, imagining outcomes, and worrying about events that may never happen. This constant mental chatter often feels productive, but in reality, it drains energy, clouds judgment, and prevents meaningful action. The very act of noticing when you are overthinking is an incredibly powerful intervention because awareness brings clarity. When you become conscious of the pattern, you step out of autopilot, you step out of the cycle of anxiety, and you regain control over your mind instead of letting your mind control you. Overthinking usually begins subtly, almost imperceptibly in everyday decisions. You might find yourself hesitating over a small choice, replaying conversations, or imagining worst-case scenarios before taking any action. Many people think that if they can plan everything perfectly or think through every possibility, they will avoid mistakes. However, the truth is that excessive rumination creates fear rather than certainty. Awareness allows you to see these thought patterns for what they are, mental loops that create the illusion of productivity, but rarely lead to real progress. When you can recognize these loops, you create a space between yourself and your thoughts. And it is in this space that freedom and clarity emerge. The practice of awareness is not just about observing your thoughts. It is about cultivating a mindful relationship with them. Instead of being swept away by every worry or what if that arises, you learn to acknowledge it, assess it, and choose whether it deserves your energy. For example, when a stressful thought arises, instead of reacting automatically, you can pause and ask yourself, am I thinking about something that I can influence, or am I dwelling on what is beyond my control? This pause is transformative because it interrupts the automatic cycle of overthinking. The moment you become aware, you reclaim your decision-making power. Awareness also shines a light on the hidden triggers that fuel overthinking. Often these triggers are not obvious. They could be a past failure that continues to haunt you, the fear of judgment from others, or even an internalized belief that you must always perform perfectly. By paying attention to your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations, you begin to understand the underlying causes of your hesitation. You notice the subtle tension in your shoulders, the racing heartbeat, the nagging inner dialogue, and realize that these are signals from your body and mind, urging you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. This understanding allows you to address the root cause rather than just managing symptoms, which leads to deeper, lasting change. Another vital aspect of awareness is the ability to differentiate between productive thinking and overthinking. Productive thinking is focused, solution-oriented, and time-bound. Overthinking, by contrast, is repetitive, paralyzing, and often emotionally charged. Developing awareness means you can recognize when you have crossed that line. You notice when reflection has turned into rumination, when planning has become procrastination, and when analysis has become fear. This distinction is critical Because it gives you the opportunity to redirect your mental energy toward meaningful action, rather than allowing it to dissipate in endless cycles of doubt. Developing awareness is a skill that requires practice. It can be strengthened through mindfulness, journaling, or simply pausing several times a day to check in with your thoughts. Even a few minutes of deliberate self-observation can make a significant difference. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes to catch yourself before you spiral into overthinking, and the easier it becomes to make decisions with confidence. Awareness, once cultivated, acts as a compass, guiding you toward clarity and action in situations that once seemed overwhelming. In essence, awareness is the first step, because it is the foundation of all subsequent change. It allows you to identify patterns, understand triggers, and regain control over your mind. Without awareness, any effort to take action or make decisions is likely to be undermined by unconscious habits of hesitation and doubt. When you become truly aware, you are no longer a passive observer of your life. You are an active participant, equipped with the insight needed to break free from overthinking and move confidently toward your goals. One of the most powerful shifts you can make in your mindset is learning to replace the question, "What if?" with "Why not?" The phrase "what if" is often the starting point of overthinking, leading you down a path of doubt, fear, and hesitation. It keeps your mind trapped in endless scenarios of failure, rejection, or disappointment. It asks questions about possibilities that may never materialize and magnifies every potential risk, creating a mental storm that paralyzes action. The problem is not curiosity itself. Questioning is natural and necessary. The problem arises when your questions become barriers, chains that keep you from moving forward. Why not is the antidote, a small but transformative question that shifts your focus from fear to possibility, from limitation to opportunity. When you ask why not instead of what if, you open the door to courage. Courage does not mean the absence of fear. It means taking action despite fear. The moment you replace doubt with possibility, your perspective changes. Instead of imagining everything that could go wrong, you start to consider what could go right. You start to see the potential in opportunities instead of the risk in failure. Every great innovation, every meaningful achievement, every step forward in human history began with someone daring to ask, "Why not?" and then acting on it. This small mental shift empowers you to stop being a passive observer of life and start becoming an active creator of your destiny. What if encourages procrastination? It slows decision-making and keeps you confined in a world of hypothetical scenarios. Why not is a call to action. It encourages experimentation, learning, and growth. Life is not about waiting for perfect conditions or a guarantee of success. It is about taking the step, adjusting as you move forward, and learning from the experience. By replacing what if with why not, you reframe challenges as possibilities rather than threats. You begin to see obstacles not as reasons to stop, but as opportunities to innovate and improve. It transforms hesitation into momentum and doubt into determination. This mindset shift also fosters resilience. When you ask why not, you become less fearful of failure, because failure is no longer the end of the story, it is a step in the process of learning. You start to view setbacks as lessons rather than confirmations of your worst fears. Every time you take action despite uncertainty, you build confidence, self-trust, and the ability to navigate complexity with composure. Over time, this simple question trains your mind to focus on possibilities rather than limitations, creating a mental environment where creativity, problem-solving, and initiative can flourish. Replacing what if with why not also changes the way you perceive opportunities. Many people miss out on life's possibilities, not because the opportunities are rare, but because their minds are focused on what could go wrong. By asking why not, You invite yourself to step forward, to test your abilities, and to embrace challenges as gateways to growth. This mindset encourages calculated risks, not reckless impulsivity. It allows you to evaluate options thoughtfully, while still prioritizing action over hesitation. In essence, it transforms fear into curiosity, paralysis into momentum, and potential into achievement. Developing this habit requires practice. It begins with awareness of your own thoughts, noticing when you automatically default to what if, and consciously choosing to replace it with why not. Over time, this practice rewires your mental patterns. Opportunities that once seemed intimidating now become exciting possibilities. Decisions that once felt heavy with fear now carry a sense of purpose and empowerment. You begin to live in a space of action rather than anxiety, curiosity rather than caution. By embracing the question, why not, you cultivate a mindset that actively seeks possibilities instead of fixating on limitations. It is a mindset that encourages action over hesitation, exploration over avoidance, and growth over stagnation. It reminds you that life is meant to be lived boldly, that possibilities are abundant, and that the only true barrier is the one you place in your mind. Each time you ask why not and take a step forward, you break free from the cycle of overthinking and move closer to realizing your potential. One of the most common reasons people get stuck in overthinking is the overwhelming scale of the tasks or goals in front of them. When we see a challenge as a giant, insurmountable mountain, our minds naturally create stories of fear, doubt, and hesitation. The solution lies in breaking down those mountains into manageable steps, understanding that progress is rarely about giant leaps, but about consistent, deliberate movement forward. Small steps have immense power because they transform abstract goals into concrete, actionable tasks. Each tiny action builds momentum, creates clarity, and instills confidence, turning what once seemed impossible into achievable reality. When a task is broken down, it shifts from a source of stress to a source of focus. The mind no longer spirals into what-ifs or worst-case scenarios because it is given a clear, actionable path. For instance, writing a book may feel impossible if you focus on the final product. But when you focus on writing one paragraph or even one sentence at a time, the task becomes manageable and your mind begins to engage with creativity instead of fear. Small steps create a rhythm of action that gradually dissolves the inertia caused by overthinking. Momentum, once established, has a compounding effect. Every small accomplishment fuels motivation and makes the next step feel easier. Breaking tasks into small steps also enhances decision-making. Overthinking often occurs because we try to process every variable and outcome at once. By focusing on the immediate, actionable next step, you simplify your decisions and reduce cognitive overload. This doesn't mean ignoring long-term planning or vision. It means acknowledging that clarity and progress are built one decision at a time. Each small step generates feedback, providing valuable insights that guide the next move. Action, even imperfect action, leads to learning and adjustment, while overthinking keeps you trapped in endless cycles of speculation. The psychology behind this approach is compelling. Human brains are wired to respond to achievable goals. Completing small, concrete actions releases a sense of accomplishment and triggers motivation. This neurological reward system helps counteract the fear and doubt that fuel overthinking. When you see tangible results, no matter how small, your confidence grows, your energy levels increase, and your focus sharpens. The accumulation of these micro-successes builds a psychological foundation for tackling bigger challenges, creating a cycle where action begets action and progress becomes inevitable. Breaking tasks into steps also reduces the emotional burden of high expectations. Many people overthink because they feel pressured to get everything right immediately. By focusing on incremental progress, you allow yourself room for experimentation and learning. Each small step is a chance to adjust, refine, and grow without the weight of perfectionism. Mistakes are no longer catastrophic. They are simply data points in a larger process of growth. This perspective transforms fear into curiosity and hesitation into deliberate action, making it easier to move forward without getting stuck in mental paralysis. Another advantage of small steps is that they increase focus. Large tasks can scatter attention, causing distraction and indecision. When you concentrate on the next immediate action, your mind channels its energy productively. Distractions fade, and your clarity strengthens because your goals are no longer abstract. They are tangible and actionable. Over time, this habit creates a disciplined approach to progress, where consistent effort becomes more important than sporadic bursts of energy. Implementing this strategy requires planning, self-discipline, and patience. It begins with identifying the ultimate goal, breaking it down into sequential steps, and committing to completing the next small action, no matter how minor it seems. Each step, repeated consistently, compounds over time and transforms overwhelming aspirations into tangible results. By focusing on what you can do today, right now, rather than imagining the enormity of the entire journey, you replace fear with clarity, hesitation with momentum, and overthinking with purposeful action. One of the most significant barriers to taking action is the pursuit of perfection. Many people overthink because they feel that every decision, every step, and every outcome must be flawless. This mindset creates a paralysis that stops progress before it even begins. The truth is that perfection is an illusion. Life is inherently unpredictable, and the world is full of variables that are beyond our control. Embracing imperfection is not about settling for less. It is about freeing yourself from the unrealistic expectation that everything must be perfect before you act. It is the recognition that excellence grows through effort, experimentation, and learning, not through waiting for a flawless moment that may never come. Overthinking is often fueled by fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of making the wrong choice. When we tie our sense of self-worth to perfect outcomes, we amplify this fear, and our minds become trapped in a cycle of endless analysis. Embracing imperfection shifts the focus from fear to action. It allows us to take steps forward even when conditions are not ideal, understanding that progress is more important than perfection. Every action, even if flawed, generates experience, learning, and insight. By contrast, waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect time, or the perfect conditions guarantees stagnation. Embracing imperfection also fosters creativity. When we give ourselves permission to act without being flawless, we open space for experimentation, innovation, and discovery. Many of the greatest achievements in history were born not from perfect execution, but from the courage to act despite uncertainty and error. Thomas Edison's thousands of attempts to invent the light bulb, the countless drafts that led writers to their masterpieces, and the trial and error approaches of successful entrepreneurs all illustrate that progress is iterative. Each imperfection is a lesson that brings you closer to improvement. Accepting this principle allows your mind to focus on possibilities rather than limitations, on learning rather than fear, and on movement rather than hesitation. Another critical aspect of embracing imperfection is the release of judgment. Overthinking often arises because we are excessively self-critical, evaluating our every thought and action as right or wrong. This self-judgment magnifies anxiety and slows decision-making. By accepting imperfection, you cultivate self-compassion and resilience. You learn to see mistakes not as reflections of your worth, but as natural parts of the learning process. This perspective reduces the emotional weight of action and encourages a mindset that values growth over flawless execution. Embracing imperfection also improves efficiency and productivity. Perfectionism can lead to over-preparation, excessive planning, and procrastination. We spend hours, days, or even months trying to make something perfect before acting, often missing opportunities in the process. By letting go of the need to be perfect, we allow ourselves to act decisively, make progress, and adjust along the way. Each step taken provides feedback, enabling us to refine our approach rather than being trapped in an endless cycle of theoretical improvement. This mindset shift transforms challenges into opportunities. When imperfection is accepted, risks are no longer paralyzing but informative. You learn to approach problems with curiosity, to iterate solutions, and to continuously improve rather than waiting for an unattainable ideal. Action becomes a process of growth, where the emphasis is on forward momentum rather than flawless outcomes. Life rewards those who try, adapt, and persist, not those who wait for perfection. Developing the habit of embracing imperfection requires practice and reflection. It begins with noticing when fear of mistakes or judgment is holding you back and consciously choosing to act anyway. It involves reframing mistakes as learning opportunities and celebrating progress rather than outcomes. Over time, this approach trains your mind to prioritize action, creativity, and resilience over hesitation and doubt. By valuing effort, experimentation, and growth, you transform imperfection from a source of anxiety into a tool for empowerment. One of the most profound truths about overcoming overthinking is understanding that action itself creates clarity. Many people believe that clarity must come first, that before taking any step, they need a complete picture, a perfect plan, or total certainty. This belief, however, is a trap because life rarely offers complete certainty. Waiting for clarity before acting often leads to hesitation, procrastination, and missed opportunities. The paradox is that clarity often emerges not before action, but through it. When you take a step forward, even if imperfect, you engage with reality, and that engagement illuminates the path ahead. Action transforms abstract ideas into tangible experiences, revealing what works, what doesn't, and what needs adjustment. Overthinking often stems from fear of the unknown. We create scenarios in our minds, imagining countless outcomes, risks, and failures. We attempt to predict every variable, believing that if we analyze enough, we will achieve perfect understanding. In reality, the human mind is limited, and overanalysis rarely produces actionable insight. Action, by contrast, introduces feedback and information that cannot be imagined. Every step you take provides concrete evidence, allowing you to assess progress, recalibrate decisions, and make informed choices. Movement dispels doubt, whereas inaction reinforces it. Action also accelerates learning in ways that reflection alone cannot. Theories, plans, and strategies are valuable, but they remain hypothetical until tested in the real world. When you act, you experience the consequences firsthand. You discover the strengths and weaknesses of your approach, the unforeseen challenges, and the hidden opportunities. Each attempt, regardless of success or failure, adds to your understanding. Over time, repeated action creates a cycle of learning and improvement, where each step builds upon the previous one. This iterative process is what transforms uncertainty into clarity and confusion into confidence. Another important aspect of this principle is that action reduces mental clutter. Overthinking often manifests as a storm of ideas, fears, and possibilities that overwhelm the mind. The more we think without acting, the more tangled these thoughts become. Taking action cuts through this noise, providing focus and direction. Even small steps generate progress, and progress brings mental relief. When you move forward, your mind naturally aligns with the reality of the situation rather than remaining trapped in imagined scenarios. This alignment is the essence of clarity. Understanding comes from experience, not speculation. Action also cultivates courage and momentum. The first step is often the hardest because it requires confronting fear, uncertainty, and potential failure. Once you take that step, however, momentum begins to build. Subsequent actions feel easier and confidence grows with each experience. Overthinking decreases because the mind learns that decisions do not have to be perfect to be effective. Courage and clarity reinforce each other. As you act, you gain clarity, and as you gain clarity, acting becomes more natural and less intimidating. This principle applies to every aspect of life, from personal decisions to professional endeavors. Career growth, relationships, creative projects, and personal development all benefit from engagement and experimentation. Waiting for perfect clarity or ideal circumstances is a form of self-imposed stagnation. Every action you take, no matter how small, brings new understanding, uncovers hidden solutions, and illuminates the next step. The act of doing is a catalyst that turns uncertainty into insight and ideas into results. Developing a habit of action requires discipline and intention. It begins with choosing to act despite uncertainty, breaking down large tasks into achievable steps, and being willing to adjust along the way. Over time, action becomes a tool for self-discovery, problem-solving, and growth. The more you embrace movement, the more your mind becomes comfortable with ambiguity, learning to trust experience over speculation. Action is not just a response to life, it is the mechanism through which clarity, confidence, and progress are generated. One of the most critical realizations in overcoming overthinking is that life rewards courage, not hesitation. Many of us fall into the trap of waiting for perfect conditions, ideal timing, or absolute certainty before taking action. We convince ourselves that the right moment must arrive, that all variables must align, or that every potential risk must be eliminated. This mindset is an illusion because life is inherently unpredictable, and waiting for perfection often results in lost opportunities. Courage, on the other hand, is the catalyst that transforms potential into reality. It is the willingness to step forward despite fear, uncertainty, and imperfection. Those who act boldly, even in the face of doubt, create their own momentum and open doors that hesitation could never reveal. Hesitation is often fueled by fear. The fear of failure, the fear of judgment, and the fear of the unknown. Overthinking amplifies these fears, convincing us that inaction is safer than action. However, history is full of examples where progress, innovation, and success came from those who acted despite fear. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the deliberate choice to move forward in spite of it. Each courageous step, no matter how small, builds confidence, resilience, and momentum. Hesitation may feel safe in the short term, but it ensures stagnation in the long term. Life rewards those who take initiative, adapt to challenges, and persist even when the path is unclear. Taking action with courage also allows for learning and growth. Every choice, every step, and every effort provides feedback and insight. Even failures become opportunities for improvement. People who hesitate miss these lessons because they never engage with reality. They remain trapped in speculation and what-if scenarios. Courage transforms uncertainty into opportunity. It allows you to experiment, iterate, and refine your approach while gaining real-world experience. Each act of courage increases your capacity for handling challenges, making future decisions less daunting and more confident. Another aspect of courage is embracing risk without being reckless. Courage does not mean ignoring consequences, it means assessing situations, acknowledging potential challenges, and then choosing to act despite fear. Overthinking often magnifies risks, paralyzing decision-making and preventing progress. Courage allows you to navigate this tension effectively. By acting with intention and awareness, you discover that many perceived risks are manageable, and obstacles that seemed insurmountable can often be overcome through persistence and adaptability. Courage also inspires others. When you take bold action, you set an example for those around you. Hesitation, on the other hand, often goes unnoticed, except in its negative effects on your own life. People are drawn to those who act decisively and authentically, who step into challenges with confidence and integrity. By exercising courage, you not only advance your own goals, but also create an environment where others feel motivated to act, collaborate, and innovate. The ripple effect of courageous action can extend far beyond your own achievements. Developing the habit of courage requires consistent practice. It begins with recognizing when fear is holding you back and consciously choosing to act anyway. Start with small risks, manageable steps, or situations outside your comfort zone, and gradually expand the scale of your actions. Each act of courage reinforces your belief in your own abilities, strengthens your resilience, and reduces the influence of hesitation over time. Courage becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. Action leads to confidence, confidence leads to further action, and progress becomes inevitable. Ultimately, life does not reward perfect plans, endless contemplation, or avoidance of risk. Life rewards those who act decisively, take responsibility for their choices, and move forward despite uncertainty. Courage turns dreams into reality, ideas into impact, and intentions into results. By choosing action over hesitation, you align yourself with the natural rhythm of progress, growth, and opportunity. Every step taken with courage brings you closer to your goals and demonstrates that while fear may be inevitable, hesitation is optional. In closing, I want you to remember this. The best way to predict the future is to create it. Stop overthinking, take action, and watch how your world transforms. Life doesn't wait, and neither should you. Thank you.